What would Louise say?
New Thought Media Network is excited to present Divine Science Everywhere, Fridays at 2 p.m. Mountain Time and 4 p.m. Eastern. Come explore a modern experience of divine science. With Reverend Joy Fletcher, Reverend Jeff Radcliff, and Bishop Durrell Watkins. Join us as we open our eyes to divine science everywhere we look. Fridays on New Thought Media Network.
Good afternoon, wherever you are. I'm so excited to be here at Unity Village, Missouri, Unity's headquarters and also Mecca for all the new thought. We have 3 sets of historical archives, and we'll be talking about that on a future show. I'm Reverend Joy Fletcher, and also known as Joyful, and I'm so happy that you could join us today. Some of the ways that I express ministry is a grief support specialist, as well as assisting people with end-of-life concerns, and chaplaincy, as well as I am the president of Divine Science Ministers Association.
And I'm Reverend Jeff Radcliff. It's nice to have you with us. Besides working with Divine Science Everywhere and Reverend Joy and Bishop Durrell, I also work on Friday Fireside Chat here on New Thought Media Network with Reverend Michael Mangus. So we will not be broadcasting tonight. Michael is still in Unity Village, where Joy is. He should be on his way home anytime. We'll have a show next week. You can also look for me on Facebook, Giatti Ministries, Giati Ministries. Giatti, God is all there is, because as a divine scientist, what else is there?
And I'm Durrell Watkins. I am the senior minister of the Sunshine Cathedral in Fort Lauderdale, sunshinecathedral.org. I am a bishop for the Global Justice Institute, and I'm the current president of the Divine Science Federation. We have an amazing guest coming up, and I'm very excited about this particular guest because she was on the board that approved my church and school coming into the Divine Science Federation. And now, 100 years later, I get to be a leader in it. In my last term, but nevertheless, I've been of some use, and it might not have ever happened if not for our guest today. We're going to meet her and talk to her a little bit later on. But first, what happens next when I do this? Oh, we turn it back over to Reverend Joy, who leads us in a moment of reflection.
Yes. So I was reading in Divine Science and Healing, authored by Melinda Kramer. And there was a particular section that really intrigued me. She was talking about that she received the guidance to start a magazine called Harmony. And she mentioned it to her husband, and she said he was uncharacteristically questioning her, like, well, you don't have, and he said, you don't have any experience doing that. And do you have a subscription list? And if you have as many as 10 people, then you're committed. And and just asked her a bunch of questions. And she said, well, I'm going to think about it. And she said, I thought about it for about 15 minutes. And I felt really uncomfortable. And this is what came to me. This is on page 25 in Divine Science and Healing. I fully realized at that time, as I do now, that there is no way by which good can be accomplished that is not open to those who act from the plane of divine being, from the spirit of wholeness, for it is the spirit that works all things together for good. This means the means necessary to carry on any work is included in the necessity for the work. So as we take a few moments to center, think about what is on your heart. What is yours to do? Are you resting and waiting for all of the signs and all the details to be ironed out? Or are you listening to your inner being? So take a few moments. Listen for the inner guidance of spirit, the gentle whisper that speaks not in urgency, but in knowing. It's the same voice that has guided seekers, healers, and truth students in every generation. The awareness of divine being expressed through us as insight, intuition, and confidence. Think about this for a moment. Our highest good does not depend on outer circumstance, but on our inner alignment. When we act from this plane of divine being, from the consciousness of wholeness, awareness, trust, and faith, everything required for the fulfillment of our purpose is already provided. Following inner guidance isn't striving, it's not forcing. It is just there, beckoning us to listen. We move from a sense of uncertainty into the essence of certainty. And every inspired idea carries within it the power and provision for its fulfillment. Just trust in this guidance. Trust that all is provided for. Remember that your good and the good that you are to express is already established. So we say, thank you, Infinite Spirit, for lighting my path, guiding my decisions, and filling my heart with assurance. And so it is. Bishop, you're muted.
Can you hear me now? That's my favorite part of the hour. I was just saying is that we where we just get quiet and we get still and we turn within and we're just sort of led through those sacred moments. A week or two ago, Reverend Joy said that this hour is for her church hour, and I think that's true for me too. That in ministry, you're always giving, you're always doing. So it's so nice to have some area where you can just refill. And this is that hour for me. So, and I hope that's true for various people watching. Whenever you watch, you can, of course, watch at any time. So thank you, Reverend Joy, and thank you to our fellow divine scientists today. And speaking of divine scientists, we following the centering moments, we remember some of our new thought luminaries. They always include one or two divine scientists, but we don't limit it to divine scientists because the movement, truth is truth. And some of us prefer one sort of vocabulary or one sort of history or one sort of vibe, but it's all getting us to a consciousness of God as all in all, a consciousness of oneness and love and empowerment. And so whatever vocabulary you use, whether it's the unity vocabulary or the religious science or the divine science, they're just different languages for the one truth we all share. That being said, I want to just say a word about Goddard Neville. I think we've mentioned him before, but he's worth revisiting because the president of the International New Thought Alliance is a divine science minister and a big fan of Goddard Neville. Neville was born in Barbados and moved to the U.S. in 1922. He was a writer and a public speaker. He wrote, "An awakened imagination works with a purpose. It creates and conserves the desirable and transforms or destroys the undesirable. It creates and protects, conserves the desirable, and transforms or eliminates the undesirable." He was mentored by a mystic known as Abdullah and provided psychological insights into religious themes and texts. The next person I want to tell you about had a birthday. Of course, she's not on this plane anymore, but her birthday was October the 6th, and that is Myrtle Fillmore. Born in 1845, made her transition in 1931. The ministry she co-founded, Silent Unity, and Unity Farm, and Unity Churches, and Silent Unity, and Unity Magazine, and all those things, is where Reverend Joy is right now. She's at that sacred spot. I love Unity Village so much. And Myrtle contracted tuberculosis at a young age and spent many years experiencing herself to be, defining herself, understanding herself to be chronically frail. She attended a lecture by metaphysician E.B. Weeks in 1886 and learned of the efficacy of affirmative prayer. And she started declaring for herself, "I am a child of God, and therefore I do not inherit sickness." In time, she found herself to be the picture of health. She lived into her late 80s. She was so excited about the discovery of the power of affirmative prayer that she started working with others with healing needs. She and her husband, Charles, then went on to found Silent Unity Ministry and the Unity School of Christianity and Unity Village, all of which are still in operation today. At the age of 86, Myrtle made her transition from this experience of life to the next on October the 6th, 1931. I said October 6th was her birthday, but that was wrong. That's the day she left the planet, was October the 6th. And this is 1931. So when we say, oh, look, somebody lived to be 78 or 85 or 89 or 90, before the 21st century, that was a big deal. Now, especially here in Florida, if anybody makes their transition before the age of 90, we suspect foul play. But back in the day, 65, 70, they thought that was a good long life. And in that context, she lived to be 86. And so, and I attribute that to the power of consciousness. Although there's certainly no failure if you died at 46. I mean, if your time's up, you've done what you need to do, why hang around? But she certainly demonstrated ahead of her time that you can do things that other people think are unlikely, just with the power of spirit. The next person I want to tell you about is Barbara L. King. She only left us about 5 years ago. She was born in 1930, so she lived to be 90. She was a bishop, which made her a little unique in the New Thought movement. There are a few of us who have bishop titles. Grant Lynn Ford, my predecessor, Barbara King, her successor at her church in Atlanta. There's been a few, but very few. And she was one of the first, I think, maybe the very first. She was ordained by Johnny Coleman. She studied theology with Unity and at a missionary Baptist training school in Chicago. She later earned degrees in sociology from Texas Southern University in Houston and in social work from Atlanta University. And she earned her doctorate degree from the Ecumenical Theological Seminary in Detroit. She founded Hillside Chapel and Truth Center in Atlanta, and she was enthroned as a village chief in West Africa. And she was a mentor of Iyanla Van Zandt. Then we have Florence Scovel Shinn, lived from 1871 to 1940. She was an actor and an illustrator and a writer, and she wrote mainly about metaphysical spirituality. She believed that owing to the vibratory power of words, this is her statement, owing to the vibratory power of words, whatever one voices, one begins to attract. Louise Hay once acknowledged Shinn as one of her early spiritual influences. And then last but not least, we have divine scientist Alice R. Ritchie. Born in 1876, made her transition in 1960. She was an early graduate of the Colorado College of Divine Science, later known as the Brooks School of Theology or Brooks Divinity School. And she served on the college board for 7 years. She received the Doctor of Divine Science degree in 1919, and in 1921 became the minister of a Divine Science church in Chicago. And every once in a while, you'll see things of her pop up in old pamphlets and literature and essays, including the Divine Science Daily at One Month. So those are our metaphysicians for today. And we're about to speak with a metaphysician who's actually, she's been the leader of an historic Divine Science church. And so we're going to learn a lot of things in just a bit. But first, we have to take a little break. We are Divine Science Everywhere, and this is the New Thought Media Network.
New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
Welcome back to Divine Science Everywhere. I am so excited because this lady is a living legend when it comes to divine science. Reverend Dr. Marita Wiggins is an ordained divine science minister. She was an original member of a study group that later became Valley Community Church of Divine Science in Roanoke, Virginia, over 50 years ago. She started as a lay leader and then became the minister. Dr. Marita has trained and ordained 3 ministers. She's taught numerous classes as well as being, a regular minister, doing regular minister stuff like officiating over 300 weddings and, funerals and all of that kind of stuff. She was awarded a doctorate by the Divine Science Federation in conjunction with the Divine Science School in the mid-'80s. She co-founded a divinity school. She helped to build the church building itself, and they are still standing and they are debt-free, which is saying something because not many churches can say that. She has also served on the board of Divine Science Federation International, and she spent 2 years as its president. We're greatly blessed to have her with us to share time and space with her. Reverend Dr. Marita, I didn't want to give too much away about what you have done because you have led such a fascinating life. I wanted you to tell your story. But I will say this. You started out going to a study group in somebody's home, and it just sort of picked up and grew from there. Tell us the story.
I'd love to. Thank you. Actually, I was raised in Catholicism. My mother was a French Catholic, and I went to Catholic school, and I went to Mass 6 times a week, the whole thing. My father, though, was what he called a free thinker. He liked to delve into various philosophical ideas, and at about 15, I realized that I could no longer be a Catholic, a practicing Catholic, because they believed, at least at the time, that anybody who didn't worship Jesus Christ would go to hell. And I thought of the billions of people who probably never even heard the words. And I said, enough of that. So I sort of divorced myself from Catholicism at that time. Well, I graduated from high school and went to college and married and had 4 children in 5 years. And I was one busy person, little kids. But I was interested in metaphysics, specifically at the time, Edgar Cayce. And I'd gone down to the Virginia Beach and taken a couple of his classes, take somebody else's classes, not his, of course, because he was gone by that time. But I enjoyed it. Had a friend called Ebba Polfeld, and she knew I was interested in metaphysics. And so she called me up one day and said, I'm starting this study group, and yeah, I'd like you to come over. And I said, Ebba, I'm so sorry. I just can't do it. I'm really busy. She called me the next week, and I couldn't think of an excuse. And so I went. Well, it seems that John and Ebba Polfeld had lived in Denver, and he was an engineer, and he got a job in Roanoke, and so they had moved there. And she tried different churches, and she complained to him, I can't find a church I like. And he said, well, did you ever find a church that you liked? And she said, yes. When we were in Denver, I went to that Divine Science church, and I 2 or 3 times, and I really liked it there. He said, call them and find out if there's any other church close to Roanoke. She did. She was told that the nearest one was in Washington, D.C., Grace Faust's church, the Church of the Healing Christ. So she picked up the phone and called Grace and said, I'm interested. What do you suggest? And Grace suggested that she get the fundamentals book and invite some people over and read it together and discuss it. And so that's exactly what she did. So the second time I was invited, I did go. And Ebba used to serve coffee in little demi-tasses, and very, very elegant, and with little ginger cookies. And so everybody enjoyed that and enjoyed being with each other. And gradually the group grew, slowly but surely. And we outgrew our living room. John was never involved very much, but anyway, we outgrew the living room and went downtown and started meeting in the Patrick Henry Hotel in one of the rooms. And so that was a time of gradual growth. There was a man in Roanoke who was interested in becoming a New Thought minister. And so he served for a few months, and then he left town. I think he might have gone to Unity Village. We called the Federation, and is there any minister that's available? You know, we can't pay a living wage. We can pay stipends, but not a living wage. They would have to be earning or gaining their needs some other way. And they said, yeah, we have somebody. And they sent a lady, and she was in Roanoke for probably a year. And she left, and then somebody else was asked to come, and there was somebody else. And he came as well and stayed for a number of months. They called the Federation again, and there wasn't anybody. Nobody, no free ministers that could come. And so someone in the group decided to call Unity. And yes, indeed, Unity could send them a minister, and they had a minister in a couple of weeks. And so most of the group left and went to the Unity minister. But there were 5 of us that didn't want to leave Divine Science. So we kept on meeting at the Patrick Henry Hotel. Somebody wrote several of the most outstanding New Thought ministers and asked if they had any typewritten sermons. And they did, and they sent them to us. And we started reading them to one another. Someone would read the service. And, well, I figured that I could read better than they could. So I said to them, well, what if I take over just the reading part? And they said, well, all right, if you want to. So I started, and I think I did a few sermons of other people's. And then I thought I tried my hand at it. And so it went from there. I thought, well, I need to have more education if I'm going to do this stuff. Grace was wonderful in that she sent a couple of people to Roanoke to give a class over a long weekend. And so we'd gotten some background.
If I may interrupt just a moment, it is a schlep from Washington, D.C. to Roanoke. It's like 4 hours.
Yes, it
So
is.
for them to send you people on occasion to teach and to maybe deliver a message, that's a big deal.
It is a big deal. It happened, I think, twice. Not 3 times, but twice, I believe. But at any rate, I kept on taking classes. I went out to Denver 3 times and got more and more education. And then that was when I became the lay leader because I was leading the church. I wasn't qualified, as it were. But as I took more and more classes and stuff, and I felt a little more competent. And the group started growing, slowly. But anyway, I just kept at home study and so forth and so on. So in early 1970s, I became a licensed minister. See, they didn't ordain you right away. You had to prove yourself in a church. And so I could do weddings and funerals by that time. But I was ordained in 1979, and Lucille Frederick flew in from Denver, and she ordained me, and I was ordained in the Patrick Henry Ballroom. It was a beautiful event. We built the church in 1980. It was never really, really big. We had around 50 people, 60 people, something like that. And in 2000, we added an annex onto the back of the church. Very helpful. But we were frankly hanging on by our fingernails because it was really costly to try to cover the mortgage. And then one of that original group, dear guy, passed away and left the church money. And we paid off the church. Off the mortgage. What a relief that was. What a wonderful day that was.
Yeah.
Well, we have the church and have had it for 45 years now. And it stays very, very busy. There are 8 AA groups that meet through the week. And we have a Sunday service at 10:30 in the morning. And then the Metropolitan Community Church comes in and has a service at 1 o'clock. And there was a short period of time when we had a third church who used to come, but they are not in existence anymore. And these days, Reverend Doug Watts and I share ministerial responsibilities. Doug lives about an hour from the church at Smith Mountain Lake. And so it was very difficult for him to attend classes at our church. And so he started practitioner and ministerial courses at the Samaritan Institute. And he was ordained through them. And he's a very, very good speaker, a great guy. That's kind of our background.
Now, the church, you built the church. You built the church. It was not existing, and you moved in. Is that correct?
No, we built it.
Built it from the ground.
Yeah.
And that's rare in New Thought. Most churches are like a house or a fast food restaurant or something that's been converted, or it's another church that you bought. You're only the second New Thought minister that I've known of. The other was a religious science church here in Fort Lauderdale. They sold it and moved into a furniture store that they converted. So now even that's gone. But for a New Thought church to be a New Thought church from day one in its own building, that's pretty rare.
Well, there were some people attached to the church, and they had skills, and they found a piece of land that was about almost 2 acres, and found a contractor and so forth and so on. And one thing led to another, and it was built.
Yeah.
And it was, of course, everybody's great pleasure. It's in good shape. It's really in a pretty place, beautiful lawn around it.
It's absolutely beautiful.
Hmm?
It's absolutely beautiful. If people want to take a look at the church and at your website, they can go to vccds.com. You have the most beautiful picture. The setting is just absolutely gorgeous.
Thank you. Thank you. That's so kind of you. And that certainly is due to a lot of work by the board, especially the president of the board, Jan Graham, and we owe her a lot. And it is in very good shape. It looks nice. It really does.
And I want people to know, well, first of all, your co-minister who reached out to Samaritan, that's the school that I oversee. And when he said that he was connected with Reverend Dr. Marita Wiggins, I'm like, oh, this is way easy. He didn't have to jump through a lot of hoops. I'm like, oh, you probably know everything you need to know already. And I think we tried to make that pretty painless because we recognize good teachers. But the other thing is, if you're new to New Thought or new to divine science, I just want to point out these things that I believe F. Bernadette Turner was at the Roanoke Church for a while.
Yes, yeah, she was the lady.
See, that you started as a group studying kind of exactly like the Brooks sisters did, that you came in via Grace Faust, the DC church founder there, that you have opened your space and shared space with spiritualists and Protestants while thriving in your own way, that you were connected with Lucille Frederick, and that the church has always been from day one a divine science church. Your ministry and this center has so much history connected all the way back to the founders in some ways. Certainly second generation divine science. And there's not a lot of churches like that. I mean, this is a treasure. So if you don't know much about Dr. Wiggins yet, or if you don't know much about the church in Roanoke, fix that, because this really is a treasure in our, in our movement and in our history.
Thank you.
I'll tell you what. I came from West Virginia. I live in Tennessee now, and when I go back to West Virginia, I usually go the Interstate 40 East, and then take Interstate 81. But I get off Interstate 81 to go up 77 at Wytheville, Virginia. I think the next time I go home, I'm just going to drive that extra hour to Roanoke.
We would love to have you. That would be great. That would be a real treasure to see you there, Jeff. Thank you.
And I find it so inspiring that all of you just followed your guidance and just went step by step, not really knowing how it was going to unfold and all the details as the reading was about today. And you're living proof of how it works. When we're to do the work, we're just provided. The path opens. And when it might look dire or, there's challenges, then something opens up. As you said, you received a request to pay off your property, and it's wonderful. It's so inspiring to hear that. Thank you.
Yeah, he could have left that money to anyone, anything in the world, but something divine, some divine idea said, this is where I want it to go. And that's so often how it works.
Exactly. And I have to give credit to a lot of other people because they had skills that I did not have at all. I was preaching every Sunday, but they brought it about a focus of a lot of skills and a desire to see something come forth. They put a steeple on the church one time, and we have a columbaria, and as well as a meditation garden. And we're really blessed. We're really blessed.
I'm kind of curious to know, what did your family think when you went to them one day and said, "Oh, Mom wants to become a minister"? Because I will tell you what happened with my family. Everybody but my grandmother rolled their eyes like, "Oh God, here we go." My grandmother was the only one that believed in me. And then and I was originally ordained with International Metaphysical Ministries right about the same time that she passed away. And I didn't get a chance to tell her in person that I had gotten my ministerial credentials, but I leaned over her in her casket in the funeral home and said, "Grandma, we made it." So what did your family do when you said, "I'm going to be a minister"?
Well, I started, they were young. The children were young, and my husband was nominally a Catholic, but he never said, "No, don't do that." I just went step by step, and the children, they were just, it was that the way it was the way it was. I didn't have to convince them of anything. And my father and stepmother were living in Roanoke at the time, and then my mother also came there. Everybody came to church, so it wasn't any great announcement. It was just following the path, if you will.
Awesome.
I'm so blessed to have been able to live this kind of life, and the ministry is wonderful.
I do have a personal question, and if it's too personal, just say I'm not going to talk about that. But we talk about grief quite a bit on this show. Jeff has a social work degree, and Joy works with hospice all the time. That's one of her ministries, and is a certified death doula. And so a lot of times, New Thought, we don't talk about sad things. We don't talk about sad things, although we usually are pretty much of a consensus that the human experience is the human experience, and it's, the rain falls on the just and the unjust, and sometimes you have a bad day and whatever. And so we think that New Thought can be a healing principle for grief, not something to deny it, but to work through it and live it and celebrate the loss, the people we've lost. I remember when your husband made his transition, just quite a while ago. Do you have advice or counseling or guidance or insight for people who are experiencing grief, fresh grief, as someone as a New Thought teacher and enlightened person who's also experienced it?
What I found was the most helpful thing was meditation.
Mm.
He passed away, and he'd had dementia, and so it required a lot of help and so forth. When he died, it left so much more time for meditation that I could do. And that seemed to pave the way to a healing of missing him and not having him around, do things that needed done. But my 4 children have been absolutely wonderful in coming in on weekends and doing things I can't do. So, but he was wonderful about it. He never said no.
Yes.
I got a master's degree. Took me 4 years to drive every week to Charlottesville to the University of Virginia, and he never said no. He never said, "Don't do that." So I did it.
Excellent. That's beautiful. Thank you. That's generous to share that. Thank you.
Yes, yes. Do you feel that in some ways you're closer to your husband when he's in spirit?
I feel like he knows what I'm doing, and he, I think, in his own way, helps.
Yes, yes.
My older son, is a coronary intensive care nurse, and he takes care of really, really sick people. He can only take two people at a time to work on them. They have 12-hour shifts, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. and p.m. to a.m. And one day he'd spent a very busy day, and he had the night shift. And at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, he got real tired, and so he asked one of the other nurses, was in the same unit, if she would look after the patients for him for a little while he could get maybe half an hour of nap. So he got into this bay. They have just a curtain across it, as you've seen them many times in the hospital. And he fell asleep. He woke up, and there were two people standing there. There was a woman, and behind him there was a man. And he said, "What are you doing here?" And she said, "You're helping the people." And then she and the man turned around and walked through the curtain. And so he was sleepy. He went back to sleep, and then he woke up and realized what had happened. So there were people there helping.
Nice.
And so I feel that my husband is one of the people who are helping. So
Yes.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you.
it was a wonderful experience.
Your three, you've guided three people through studies to become a minister.
Yes.
What did they do? Were they chaplains, teachers? Did they start churches or what?
One of them actually worked with the Unity Church for a number of years, teaching and occasionally preaching. And the other one is not well right now, but she too became involved in another church, metaphysical chapel.
Mm-hmm.
And then the third one I just wound up last summer, actually. And she had to retire and be of help to her father. She had to move out of town and help him. He's quite elderly and he has some real physical problems. But Doug is there and he's great.
Nice. Reverend Velma, she was at your church, wasn't she?
Oh, yes. She's the one who would and served at the metaphysical chapel.
And so when Dr. Turner, when she was there, you knew her, you worked with her?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow. That's amazing to me.
Yeah.
And we talked about her a week or two ago, about how she wanted to be a priest, but in those days, that wasn't an option for women. And so she found divine science and started churches and did all this great stuff. Was at Roanoke for a while. And then in a retirement home, she lived to be 92, and about 87 became a deacon, and then 88 a priest in the church. So she was like this divine science priest working until her last breath. That was just so, I've read her book, and I've always been just fascinated by her. And I just only realized like a week or two, wait a minute, she was in Roanoke. We probably know someone who knew her.
She became an Episcopal priest, actually.
Yeah.
And, but I'm sure she carried all the divine science principles with her wherever she went.
Yes, in her retirement home. She wound up in a retirement home, and I think she was there when she became Episcopal priest. She taught yoga and meditation, and she was teaching New Thought stuff as a Episcopal priest.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, she's fascinating, and she was a psychologist. She was just fascinating for it. So I was like, wait, I know somebody who knew her. I love it. If I can't know her, I know somebody who do know her, and that's I've always been fascinated by her.
Yes, and liked her, admired her, was grateful for her.
Mm. What was Lucille Frederick like?
Oh, she was a doll. She was the dearest woman, kind and thoughtful and helpful in every way that she could be. She wasn't doing the teaching at the Divine Science Church. Other people were, but she was there all the time, and she was helping everybody, doing, of course, the work of the Federation.
Mm-hmm.
And when Greg was there, of course, at the time. And he was just a lovely man, just a dear.
Greg Irwin?
Yeah, Irwin Greg.
Greg.
Yeah. The was she the one? I don't know if they used this curriculum still, but there was a spiritual psychology curriculum. Was she the one who wrote that? It seems like she wrote some curriculum that people used to use back in the day, and I think it was the spiritual psychology course.
She may have.
Yeah.
She may have.
Right.
I took all those courses, between the home study and going out to the classes.
What is your favorite course to teach?
My favorite?
Uh-huh.
Oh, that's hard to say.
Okay.
Unfair question.
Also amazing.
And when we teach the chaplaincy course, or rather the practitioner course, it takes 5 months. And it is a very, very intense course for whoever's taking it. But Velma and I taught the third person, who's Nancy Stokes, that course, and it was wonderful. It was so in depth, and one had to give it so much attention and no prayer that it might be my favorite one.
Do you still do practitioner work? Do people still ask you to pray with them, for them? Practitioner work. Do people still come to you for prayer work?
Sometimes, yes. Not as much as I would like, because I, of course, believe in prayer and know that transforms things.
Mm-hmm.
That makes things, well, with God, all things are possible.
Mm-hmm.
And to know that and to be able to pass it on is life-saving for me as well as them.
Exactly.
Don't wrap yourself around the tree. Know that with God all things are possible.
That's beautiful. Well, it's time. I can't believe it's time, but it's time for another break, our last break. And then Reverend Joy will help us wrap things up. This hour is always the fastest hour of my week. But right now, I need to remind you that we are Divine Science Everywhere, and this is the New Thought Media Network.
Please help us say thank you to our organizational sponsors, including the Hefferland Foundation, Affiliated New Thought Network, International New Thought Alliance, Science of Mind Archives and Library Foundation, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, Center for Spiritual Living Midtown, New Thought Philadelphia, Planned Happiness Institute, Summit Center for Spiritual Living, One Heart Retreats, Center for Spiritual Living on the Lake, Unity Kitchener, Unity Spiritual Center Ottawa, Om Center for Spiritual Living, Satya Center, Begin Within Ministries, Center for Spiritual Living North Jersey, Unity of Savannah, and the Center for Spiritual Living Seattle, as well as all of our individual donors. Thank you for being part of the New Thought Media Network. Please like, share, and subscribe. New Thought Media Network, positively inspiring.
Actually,
Well,
our commercials. Before Reverend Joy, before you have a couple minutes, and I'm a pretty good time cop, so I think we can squeeze this in. We have this person who's lived divine science history, has personally known some of the pioneers, has got this long, successful ministry in Virginia. We just have this master teacher with us, and so I think we have enough time. I want to ask as up 2-3 questions, depends on how long the answers are. But this is a unique opportunity. So I want to ask, we have a master teacher, I want her to teach us at least one thing, maybe as many as 3. Dr. Wiggins, can you tell us just a little piece of advice about, I'll say, healing, tithing, let's start with those, about healing and or tithing, whichever one you want to teach us about.
Well, I've been thinking a good bit of late about healing, and have just dug into what we know about it with our founders. Melinda Kramer had that spectacular experience of knowing the presence of God, and it took about 4 months, and she was a well woman because she changed her thinking. And Nona Brooks had that spectacular experience in Mrs. Bingham's class, and she experienced healing, total healing. And my thought was, these women went on to be healers themselves. Well, of course, Nona had a very beautiful church in Denver, but Melinda didn't bother with a church. She just went all over the country and taught and healed people. And what I've been chewing on mentally is the fact that how come they did it and did it all the time, and we don't do it as much physical healings as they seem to do in the past. We see all sorts of wonderful mental and emotional and financial healings. People's lives changed wonderfully for the better, but not so much the physical healings. They are not as frequent. They were rather infrequent, actually, at least as far as I'm concerned. Now, I had a physical healing, and I know one other person who did, and you probably know people whose lives have changed dramatically because of a physical healing. But I always thought that those women must have revisited those moments of absolute spectacular understanding of reality. The feeling that went on with them at that time, knowledge, not just belief, but the certainty of God's presence and that activity of perfection which they experienced. And I think they must have revisited the feeling of that moment for them, and brought it into the consciousness of here and now for an individual. It wasn't just the words they said.
Right.
It was the feeling that was behind the words, and the knowledge that this is perfection, this is good, this is abundance, this is life, this is health, and it's here and it's now, and they knew it.
That's the energy that manifests, isn't it? Yes.
Feeling.
Thank you so much. I mean, I needed it, but I promise someone else did too. Thank you so much for that.
Yes.
Okay.
Joy.
What do we do now?
It's Joy. Joy's going to take us home.
Oh, is it okay? I wasn't sure if we had time for another question. So thanks everyone for joining us for Divine Science Everywhere. And please like and share us. And this is New Thought Media Network. And we have some great guests scheduled on October 31st is Reverend Dr. Paul Hoyt. And also next week, Reverend Dr. Allie Benjamin, who is a host of Growing Edge show on New Thought Media Network as well. So we're real excited. And while I'm here at Unity Village, I've scheduled several speakers all the way into April. So we're really excited about this. We have lots of great things coming. So we really appreciate that you shared your time and your consciousness with us. And please keep coming back and share and like us. Again, this is Divine Science Everywhere. And remember, that is in all, through all, and as all. And New Thought Media Network. So farewell until next week.
Blessings.